just fun, full circle. She's one of the most competitive kids I ever coached. But we recruited the heck out of her when we were at Drake, and then she chose Iowa, and then we got the job when she was a freshman. We both came over, and we always kidded her like, "You see, you couldn't get away from us. You told us no at Drake, but we still going to be your coaches." But just a really one of the best ever players, right? All big, helped us win that first big championship. Really, really great coach. Really, all of her stops. She learned a lot of the stops and was so successful at Drake and has done a great job at Oklahoma. So she's considered one of the young and up and comers for sure. So certainly proud of her, and as it always is with the people you coached or play against, you're always forming until you have to play them that one time.
You've got a lot of Iowa connections at this bracket. I don't know how much you would have recruited or how well you know either Sahara or Hallie or Aubrey or anybody that's going to be down there.
Yeah. No, we did. We recruited, Sahara, though, hard, right? We even recruited Peyton Burholz. But there's just a lot of kids on that roster. I recruited the heck out of Reagan Beers the first time around. And I tried to get her in the portal, right? So, Jenny, there is a lot of crossover, but Jenny and Shannon Gage is on her staff now. Shannon Gage worked for us, so she's great. She's one of our good friends. I think the world of Shannon. Shannon, that connection started. Shannon was a player at Southwest Missouri State, which is now Missouri State. And so we coached against her way back when we were at Drake. So a lot of connections. And I'd like to think if we weren't playing each other, we're usually cheering for each other all the way through the brackets.
Jan, for your first time as head coach going into the tournament, is there kind of a different approach that you're going into this one? Because obviously you've been here a long time, you've been quite a lot of tournaments, but just with the different role, is there a different approach this time around?
Well, I don't know, a different approach, just how it's been since the exhibition game, just because you're now the one in the hottest seat, right? So that will always be different, but it's different because it's the big dance, right? And it's a true one and done. But as far as how we've done it in the past, I think the formula is it is what it is, in the sense that, you're either Saturday, Monday, or Friday, Sunday. So I haven't thought that far ahead exactly how it might differ from what we've done last year. But I think that will be relatively the same, how many days we focus on, Murray State, you give much time on Oklahoma, how much, you got to try to think positively. So I got to iron all that out. But I don't think the approach will change. It's just the feeling's different.
How different will the approach be in terms of just, the last few years you've been a top seed enough to host. Your one seed last year. Just the difference of being more of an underdog in the first round. Not an underdog for first, obviously, but at least somebody who's got to go on the road. Won't get a host first couple rounds.
Yeah, I just think it's, I think it's, the value of just where the women's game is and the value of getting to play at home, right? I have to do a little study, but usually the people who host make it to that Sweet 16. And we, been there when it didn't work out, but most of the time it has. There's always that 1% chance. But I'm just so thankful. When I think back to May when I got this job and was so blessed to get it, if someone would have said, hey, after the conference tournament, you're going to be 22-10 and you're going to have a six seed or higher, I think I'd have taken that bet. With everything that we lost, with everything that these players had to manage. It's one thing when you talk about it, like it's one thing when we all started it, but it was another thing to go through it. And when you're going through it and you're trying to lead, you're trying to be a transfer coming in like Lucy, you're trying to be the kids that have been role players yet started but now be the ones. Managing that and then all the expectations, I believe that this team has won in so many ways already to get to this point. And yes, it would have been fabulous had we could have hosted. And yep, we can all go back and think woulda, coulda, shouldas. But I'd like to look at it and see, wow, look what they did. And so I'm just really, really thrilled and thankful that we are here and that we didn't have to really exactly sweat it out if we were in or not. We knew we were.
What are the keys to, with the time off, obviously, with the Big Ten tournament being early? Obviously, you've gone through that a couple of times, but what are the keys to making sure that you approach the time off and make sure that it's a productive time off and you're ready to go when the NCAA tournament comes?
Yeah, I gave them off when we got back from the Big Ten, Saturday and Sunday. We practiced Monday. I only gave them off Thursday. Friday and Saturday. And then they came back pretty refreshed. I felt our practices were great. Now as we head into this, we'll take one day off. But what we did this past week is we worked mostly on us, mostly on the things I thought we needed to improve on. And then I tried to look into the crystal ball in case. I had our staff dig up some Kentucky stuff, dig up some Duke stuff. The Oklahoma stuff, we didn't, I can't remember if they threw that in there or not, but just guessing. But regardless, the actions are going to be similar, right? Whether, you're going to play some shooter that's going to come off ball screens over under. You're going to play some big at some point. So I think we balanced that really well. And now I don't know much about Murray State. I don't know a whole lot of the intricate details of Oklahoma. Only I watch them and cheered for them because it's Jenny's team. And I know I like their big and I know how fast they play, but all that other stuff, I got to figure that formula out, and thankful I get to.
Jan, focusing on your team over this 2 weeks, what did that look like? Focusing on things you needed to fix.
Yeah, I think we were just, I was working a little bit on, our zone. When we gave up some rebounds on our zone shifts, and we tried to help with some drives in our zone shifts, which left open corner pocket threes. So I tried to work on that a little bit more, although it's been really good for us. We beat Michigan State, I think, because of it. And we held serve most of the time against Ohio State. So I did that a little bit. I was tweaking some things with some ball screens on our player. And then I was trying to work on some fluidity in our offense. And just giving a little bit more time with different combinations. I spent a lot of time working on different people with different when we need different rhythms in a game. So that's what we tried to focus on.
If you were going to turn in like a self-review for this year, what would it say?
Self-review for myself?
For yourself, yeah. Has it been a success?
Yeah. I think, any coach will tell you you're wired to get the brass ring. You're wired to get the net, right? But, I will say, I knew the job was going to be hard, but the knowing and the going through were definitely, challenging. But I think that it has been a success because I think the bar that, I was so blessed to be part of helping set, it was incredibly high. And it was incredibly fun. And, the fact that our fan base held, and they were there, for most of the season. It was a lot like last year, unless when people started to realize Caitlin was done, then they weren't, there wasn't as many non-conference games that didn't show up. But for any matchup, our fan base was amazing. So I think that was a really self-review, positive, right? I think the way that we played, that I think fans like to watch. I think that was a positive. At least that's what I got when I'd be out talking or I'd get stopped in the mall or whatever. So I think that was good. I think the fact that we had that adversity and we came through it, I think that was another positive. So I think overall, where this program ended last year with who we ended it with, including a couple of goats in Lisa and Caitlin, I feel like I'm happy about that. Yeah. But do I wish I would have done a lot of things different to maybe get one more win here, one more win there? Absolutely. So I think that's where, unless you cut down the net, I think you just always feel like, I wish it could have, we should have. But when I'm subjective, I think if I can look at it at just a general person and not me in this chair, I think it was a pretty good year, 22 wins coming after everything. And now it's a brand new season, and now we get a shot to see what we can do.
When you were in Oregon and you lost that game, and it's 5 straight, Hannah's back here, and you've got, Lucy's confidence seems to be waning a little bit. You've got a lot of young freshmen throwing people in. How did you guys get through that.
Yeah.
Because things can splinter.
Right.
And teams
Yeah.
can go downhill and lose
Yeah.
and not even end up in the Big Ten tournament because there's probably
Yeah.
the best 11 seed of all time.
Yeah, you know, I think as our coaching staff, we just really had to keep them steady. We had to keep them. I talked a lot about being right here, because if they started to listen, you know, when they're not just media, not just fans, not social media, but it can be in their own orbits. If you start to get splintered, I just had to be like, listen to me, right here, stay right here. We're closer than we're farther. I mean, if I had a buck for every time I said that, we're closer than we're farther. Just believe it. I'm telling you. And so I think that's where we just kept really celebrating anything little that we could. And it gets hard when you lose those in a row. And then, you know, I think me personally had my inner circle was very, very great. And I had a lot of good people praying for me, I know that. I had a lot of people that were keeping my wind under my sails going. So I had the energy, right, to make sure that, you know, when I was making sure they knew there was farther, that there was nobody more energetic in the room, right? But I did, man. I saw them shoot. I saw how hard they were working. So I just think it was a credit to them. I think my staff was fantastic. And we just knew that we were closer than we were farther. And when we broke it, boy, then it just, you know, we put ourselves in a position. And when we put ourselves into positions, then a lot of great things started to happen.